One of the greatest obstacles to crafting health and wellness is identifying and controlling inflammation. It's at the core of all complex and chronic diseases, and it's the driving mechanism that underlies the most common symptoms that people like you struggle to overcome. Join us as we explore cutting-edge science and research to give you the information and tools you need to create the quality of life you want and deserve. And now, here is the host of Inflammation Nation, Dr. Stephen Noseworthy.
So I want to end this section of the Inflammation Nation podcast, where we've been talking about inflammation and its impact on weight loss, with just some observations and some encouragement to do your due diligence and to, I don't know any other way to say it, to pay your dues. It's very common with the people I work with for them to have some initial excitement because we put them on a program where we change their diet, we identify what their inflammatory triggers are, we get them on the right nutritional supplements and changing things that need to change so that they can have more control over their physiology. And we've seen people lose, 18, 20, 24 pounds in just a period of 3 weeks. And that's very encouraging, and it tends to generate a lot of momentum. The problem is that somewhere along the way, you start to meet resistance because what you're currently doing is not sufficient to get you past a sticking point. Sometimes sticking points come and then they resolve on their own or without us having any idea of actually why they came and why they resolved. But in most cases, people hit a sticking point with weight loss that's going to require them to change something. And quite often it is being more diligent on the diet and putting in more work in terms of increasing physical activity as well as going to the gym. And I do draw a distinction between activities and exercise. And that's maybe a discussion for a different day. And I know I keep saying that, but we'll get to everything eventually. I want to read a quote to you from James Clear. He's the author of a book called Atomic Habits, which is a fantastic read. And if you are engaged at all on any level in a process of self-reflection and trying to improve yourself, I would suggest you get this book and you read it because he captures it with a post that he put out on social media today. And I'm just going to read this verbatim. It's got 2 parts to it. This is actually a quote, I believe, from chapter 1 of Atomic Habits. So forgive me for looking off screen if you're watching this on YouTube. He says this: if you want to predict where you'll end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. Are you spending less than you earn each month? Are you making it to the gym each week? Are you reading books and learning something new each day? Tiny battles like these are the ones that will define your future self. And then he goes on to say this. He says, your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. As you know, there's more to the story just than that. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits, and your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. And so it's just kind of a final word of encouragement is that this is a process. We start to think about hard beginnings and hard endings. Like I weigh this now and I want to weigh this much at some point in the future. And we look at those as defining points that are fixed and they're rigid. And we forget about all the stuff that happens in between. And we forget that we're trying to fit all of these things into the ebb and the flow of life. And so in one sense, you have to be a little bit hard on yourself if you have lived a life of a lack of discipline, which I think we can all be honest with ourselves. We all lack discipline in different parts of our lives. We might be very disciplined in some, but lack discipline in others. And it might be uncomfortable for somebody to point that out to you. And it might be uncomfortable even more so for you to start to actually face up to that and say, okay, this is something I know about myself and it's something I'm going to change. But the truth is, on one hand, we do have to be a little bit tougher on ourselves and say, I need to be more disciplined and build the habits that are going to let me be successful in this particular endeavor. But on the other hand, we need to be a little bit more gentle and forgiving with ourselves if and when we fail to meet our own expectations. And I say that understanding that I risk giving permission, for example, for someone to say, well, Doc said it's okay to, cheat. And I don't really say that, but I know people are going to. It is a rare person indeed that can set a goal to lose 50, 75, or 100 pounds and be on point every minute of every day for however long it takes to do that. And bravo to the people who can, but the average person can't. The average person has to learn new ways of thinking, new ways of living, and new ways of doing things. And when you get to a sticking point, sometimes it's not your diet, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not your exercise program, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just a sticking point and you need to accumulate time with your current program and protocol to get to the other side of it. And sometimes you need to sit back and say, okay, what is it that I need to change? And then be honest with yourself of whether or not you actually have been diligent in the things that you have committed yourself to. Am I really on point with my diet, with my exercise? Am I in the gym doing the work and paying my dues? Am I identifying and controlling my inflammatory triggers? Am I taking supplements that help to support where my physiology is not actually supporting my weight loss or my body recomposition efforts? And this is more about the head game and the headspace that's involved in becoming a better version of yourself. And I say this because as I'm recording this, we're getting towards the end of 2021, and we're getting close to that time where everybody starts thinking about New Year's resolutions. And this is actually one of the reasons why I chose to begin this podcast by talking about inflammation in the context of weight loss. It was no accident that I did that. It's because I know that there are going to be millions of people out there. Not all are going to find my podcast, even though, well, from my lips to God's ears, wouldn't that be great? But I know that there are a lot of people out there who are going to be struggling. They're going to be in the gym every day for the first week or two in January. They're going to be committed to a diet for the first week or two in January. And by the time February or March rolls around, they're just back to their old habits. And they're going, well, I guess I blew it. I'm just going to wait until next New Year's. Don't be that person. 2022 is your year. This is your year. Right now, today, tomorrow, the next day is the time that you get your mind in gear and you start understanding the things that are preventing you from doing the things and accomplishing the things that you set out to do. And if losing body fat and increasing muscle mass and strength and functionality and improving your body composition is part of that goal, then I'm here to support you. And I hope that this section of our podcast has been helpful and it's been valuable to you. If it is, then you can hit my website at drnoseworthy.com. I've got a contact form there that you can find under the tab that says Contact Us. Just reach out and say, hey, I appreciate the work that you do. Better yet, like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. I know I'm going to say it again in a second, but it helps reward me for the hard work of taking time to put these things together for people like you who are seeking answers and results because you've started to lose hope. And if I can play any part at all in restoring those things, then I would love an opportunity to do that. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you again in the next mini section of the Inflammation Nation podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Inflammation Nation. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Be the first to know when a new episode drops so that you can stay on top of your game. It also helps others like you find the answers they need. And why not head over to my main website, drnoseworthy.com, that's drnoseworthy.com, to explore my personalized functional medicine coaching programs, submit a question to the podcast, maybe take a quiz, or even reach out to me using the contact form that you can find there. We'll see you next time.